Welcome to a deep dive into a case that, well, it truly gripped a nation for a time. Then it seemed to almost fade from public memory, only to be solved years down the line in a really shocking, unexpected way. We're going to unpack the disappearance of Brooke Wilberger.
Yeah, this story is more than just, a straightforward crime case. It's a really poignant reminder of how quickly life can change and the intricate, often sort of winding paths justice can take. It honestly feels like a detective story, doesn't it? With twists you just don't see coming.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to pull back the curtain on those key moments, the puzzling red herrings, and the crucial pieces of evidence that finally led to answers for the family. And for you listening, we hope it offers a deeper understanding of this harrowing event. Maybe makes you feel like you're piecing it together right along with us. What's incredible, really, is how a case that was so huge everywhere in the news suddenly seemed to almost vanish. So let's start by getting to know Brooke herself. She was 19 years old, a college student born back in February '85, originally from Oregon, but she was attending Brigham Young University out in Utah.
Right? And she came from a big family, didn't she?
Yeah, the fifth of six kids, a really close-knit, faith-filled family. People described her as just lively, outgoing, humble, strong, and genuinely kind-hearted. And she excelled pretty much everywhere: sports, basketball, soccer, track. Academics honor student. She even had this dream of becoming a speech pathologist, which was actually inspired by her own early speech delays.
That paints such a clear picture, doesn't it? A young woman with just immense promise, deeply rooted in this supportive environment. Which is important because this wasn't someone who would just walk away from her life. That's critical for understanding the immediate concern when she disappeared.
Exactly. So this particular summer, she was back in Oregon for break. She was staying with her older sister, Stephanie, and her brother-in-law. They managed the Oak Park Apartments in Corvallis, and Brooke had taken a summer job, just helping out around the complex.
Okay, so a pretty normal summer job situation.
Totally normal. On Monday, May 24th, 2004, Stephanie last saw Brooke around 10:00 a.m. She was just filling a bucket, getting ready to clean lampposts in the apartment complex parking lot. Stephanie expected her for lunch around 1:00 p.m., but Brooke never showed up.
Oh, wow. The alarm bells must have gone off immediately for her sister. What did Stephanie find when she went looking?
That's where it gets really chilling. Her sister found the cleaning bucket and the supplies still sitting by a half-clean lamppost. Brooke's flip-flops were nearby, but here's the really disturbing detail. They were torn, and there were muddy toe prints. It strongly suggested a struggle, like she'd been physically pulled right out of them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and her purse, keys, phone, her car, all still there, untouched. Okay, let's just pause on that. The immediate red flags here are just undeniable.
What's fascinating, though, is how quickly her family knew something was terribly wrong. They prompted an immediate police response. That's actually quite unusual for a missing adult case, right? Normally there's a waiting period, but here it was crucial.
Right. Her sister called 911 at 3:07 p.m., and later residents actually reported hearing a scream around 10:30 that morning.
So that immediate reaction, the quick police involvement, it really raises a question, doesn't it? Why did a case that got so much attention right away eventually seem to fade from public memory, only to, resurface years later?
Yeah. It is puzzling, especially considering the twists the investigation took. For a while, the focus landed squarely on this initial person of interest, a guy named Sung-Koo Kim. He was described as a reclusive 30-year-old from Tigard, Oregon, which is maybe 80 miles or so from Corvallis.
And the timing was suspicious, wasn't it? He was arrested right around when Brooke vanished.
Exactly, for breaking into an Oregon State University dorm, which was very close to the Oak Park Apartments where Brooke was last seen.
And the things they found when they investigated him, it was disturbing.
Understatement. They found what was described as a collection. Over 3,400 pairs of women's underwear, many stolen from college dorms, plus guns, ammunition, and just tens of thousands of graphic images and videos on his computer. Horrific stuff. Rape, torture, mutilation.
Wow.
There was even a file called OSU.doc detailing a plan to commit a sexual crime and how to evade capture.
Okay, so you hear that, and given the timing, the proximity, the public and the police must have thought, this is him. Understandably so. The sheer volume and the nature of those findings.
You'd think, right, it seems like a slam dunk. People absolutely thought they had the person responsible. But here's where the investigation took a really sharp turn.
He was cleared.
Completely cleared. Despite all that incredibly disturbing evidence, Kim had an airtight alibi. It was verified by computer data, phone records, store receipts, proving he was actually with his father at the exact time Brooke went missing.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
From an investigative standpoint, I mean, it's a classic case of how overwhelming circumstantial evidence can point one way. But you have to follow the facts. And that alibi was solid. It forced them to look elsewhere.
Right. It's a huge lesson in sticking to the evidence, isn't it? Kim was eventually convicted, but for the burglary and theft charges, served 7 years. His parents even successfully sued the authorities over excessive force during the raid. Just another layer to it all.
So Kim is out. Where'd the investigation go next?
Back to square one, basically. Pretty much. They had to pivot. There was one lead, though, that was promising, but kind of elusive at the time. Reports of a dark green minivan, maybe a 97 model, seen driving erratically around the OSU campus that morning.
The mysterious van.
Yeah. Witnesses described some uncomfortable encounters with the driver. One woman said he asked for directions, then got out and opened the van's rear door. She got scared and ran. Another student remembered seeing a Minnesota license plate on it.
So these early accounts, they were a bit vague then, but they obviously planted a seed. It really highlights how police work goes, doesn't it? Sometimes it's not the big flashy clue. It's a small detail, maybe from an eyewitness, that becomes crucial years later.
Nobody could have predicted how vital that detail the green minivan would become, but at the time, nothing came of it immediately. Months passed, no real news, and those huge search efforts started to dwindle. The trail seemed cold. Then the breakthrough. And it came from, well, completely out of the blue, about 1,400 miles away.
Seriously.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. This was 6 months after Brooke vanished, November 2004. There was this case involving a 22-year-old Russian foreign exchange student. She escaped a horrifying abduction. She'd been kidnapped, sexually assaulted, restrained, but somehow managed to flee. Naked, hysterical, ran across a busy street. A mother and her daughters actually rescued her.
Oh my God, that poor woman.
Yeah.
But how did that connect back to Brooke's case in Oregon?
She gave a detailed description of her attacker and his car, a distinctive red car, red floral interior, even a stuffed toy inside.
Yep.
And the man responsible for that abduction was quickly arrested. Joel Patrick Courtney, 38 years old, married, father of 3, living in Albuquerque. When they caught him, he had a crack pipe and a knife on him.
Joel Patrick Courtney. And his background, let me guess, not his first offense.
Not even close. He was already a convicted sex offender. Had a 1991 sexual assault conviction back in Oregon, actually. Long history of violence. Drug abuse started when he was just 11. Apparently had an interest in Satanism. Really disturbing behavior. His own sister, Dina, even recounted him trying to assault her when they were teenagers. And his wife had recently filed a restraining order because he'd choked her.
Wow. So a clear pattern of escalating violence. A predator who'd been operating under the radar for way too long. This is unfortunately so common in these types of cases.
So you have this guy arrested in New Mexico, horrific background.
Yeah.
How does the connection to Brooke happen?
It was down to a really diligent detective in New Mexico, someone looking closely at Courtney's profile after the Albuquerque arrest. This detective noticed these eerie similarities between his victim there and Brooke. Both petite, blonde, young women, abducted in similar ways. It just sparks something.
Gut feeling.
Maybe, or just really good police work. They started digging. The investigation revealed that Joel Courtney was, in fact, in Corvallis, Oregon on May 24th, 2004.
The day Brooke vanished.
The exact day. His cell phone records pinned him in the area. Plus, he actually had a court hearing scheduled that day that he just didn't show up for.
Unbelievable. And then the van, right? That green minivan lead must have resurfaced.
It absolutely did. This is where it all clicks together. Detectives traced the work van Courtney had been driving at that time, back in May 2004. And guess what? It was a dark green minivan. Matched the descriptions from those witnesses in Corvallis perfectly.
Wow. Chills.
And they didn't just look at it. Forensic teams completely gutted that van. Painstaking work. And the lab found it. Brooke's DNA inside the vehicle. They also found strands of her blonde hair, caught in a hairband among Courtney's belongings.
Oh my God, that's it. That's the irrefutable proof.
Exactly. The evidence trail was just critical. It linked him not just geographically being in Corvallis, but forensically, directly to Brooke.
So he was literally driving the same van people saw acting suspiciously the day she disappeared. That's just insane. So in August 2005, based on all this, Courtney was charged with 19 counts related to Brooke's case. Aggravated murder, kidnapping, sexual abuse, rape, sodomy. Even though her body hadn't been found yet. But even with all that evidence piling up, Courtney didn't just confess right away, did he?
No, not at all. He denied everything. refused to cooperate for years. Prosecutors made it clear they were going for the death penalty. That kept the pressure on, obviously.
What finally made him talk?
Well, it wasn't remorse, apparently. Reports suggest he received some particularly bad beatings from other inmates. And he basically wanted to change the scenery to a different jail. So he decided cooperating might help his own situation.
So it was self-preservation.
Seems that way. It's often how these things happen, unfortunately. His desperation, ironically, led to the potential for closure for the Wilbergers.
So in September 2009, 5 long years after Brooke vanished, Courtney agreed to a plea deal. To avoid the death penalty, he'd get life in prison, no possibility of parole, served down in New Mexico. And the crucial part of the deal...
He had to lead them to Brooke's remains.
Exactly. Finally, after all that time, a chance for her family to bring her home.
And the confession he gave? It was just horrific. It gave a glimpse into those final hours.
He admitted everything. Abducting Brooke at knife point, binding her with duct tape in his van, driving her out into the woods. And this detail is just so disturbing. He actually drove back into Corvallis to buy food while she was still bound in the van.
Unbelievable cruelty.
He kept her alive overnight. Then the next morning, May 25th, he attempted to sexually assault her, and his explanation for why she met her end. He claimed he was surprised by how hard she fought back, said it enraged him, and that's when he decided he had to end her life. He then bludgeoned her with some kind of blunt object.
That narrative, trying to shift blame onto her bravery, it just shows the absolute depravity, doesn't it?
It's crucial
to critically evaluate these kinds of statements from perpetrators. They often try to frame it in a way that lessens their culpability. He also admitted something else terrifying. He tried to abduct 2 other Oregon State University students earlier that same day. Both managed to escape, thankfully.
Thank God.
And then, how he hid her body, it showed calculation. He took her to an abandoned logging road between Blodgett and Wren in the Oregon Coast Range, only about 5 or 10 miles from Corvallis, but really remote. He concealed her remains beneath a fallen tree on private property, designed so she likely wouldn't be found.
Methodical. Chillingly so.
Absolutely. Shows a clear intent for his acts to remain hidden forever.
So with the plea deal done, Courtney led the authorities to that site, and they recovered Brooke's remains. She was identified through dental records, and also a silver watch her mother had given her the Christmas before she disappeared.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. But closure, finally.
Yeah. Brooke's mother, Cammie Wilberger, expressed gratitude. She said, "We are thankful that justice is served and he will have no opportunity for parole. Now he can go on with what's left of his life." So it meant answers for the family, after years of that awful uncertainty. But the pain, obviously, that endures.
And Courtney himself.
Yeah.
Any remorse shown?
None reported, never apologized. And the FBI strongly believes he's likely a serial killer.
They've identified at least 3 other potential victims in Oregon, women he may have sexually assaulted and who lost their lives. One prosecutor even compared his level of evil to someone like Richard Ramirez. Gives you a sense of the darkness involved.
So this deep dive, it really takes us from that frantic search back in May 2004 through years of silence and dead ends to that shocking resolution in September 2009. It's just such a powerful testament to the persistence of law enforcement, isn't it? And how crucial those small details, those unexpected connections can be even years later, miles away.
Absolutely. And if you think about the bigger picture, Brooke's story was huge news initially, but then it kind of faded for many outside her community, became almost a forgotten tragedy. Yet it's such a stark reminder, isn't it, of the hidden dangers that can exist even in places that feel safe, the immense challenges of these long-term cold cases, and the profound lasting impact on families, even when, justice is technically served and remains are recovered.
For you listening, we hope this case really did make you feel like a detective alongside us. Piecing together that timeline, seeing the red herrings like Sung-Koo Kim, understanding that aha moment when the New Mexico case broke. How those hints planted early, like the green van, eventually paid off. It really creates that unsettling feeling that this kind of random, terrible violence could happen to anyone, anywhere. And while Joel Courtney is locked away for good and Brooke's remains were finally brought home, her sister Stephanie said something that really captures that enduring grief. She said, "I could be 80 years old and have my entire life behind me, and I don't think I will ever reflect on what happened to her and be okay with it. Time's not going to make that okay." It leaves us with a heavy question, doesn't it? How do families truly find peace after something so brutal? And how do we as a community make sure stories like Brooke's and the lessons they hold aren't forgotten?